From the national newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. U.S. President Donald Trump today is expected to share his disagreement with American allies, including Canada, on a coordinated international effort to recognize a Palestinian state during this week's 80th session of the UN General Assembly.
Prime Minister Mark Carney made the announcement yesterday at this week's UN General Assembly in New York.
Canada is under no illusions that this recognition is a panacea. This recognition is, however, firmly aligned with the principles of self-determination and fundamental human rights in the UN Charter.
The PM adding his voice to the growing chorus of international leaders supportive of the move. Meanwhile, Canada and European countries will also be watching to see what Donald Trump has to say about Russia's increased attacks on Ukraine and its incursions into NATO allies' airspace. Rob Westgate, the Canadian Press.
Also today, Carney will co-chair an event with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, focusing on Ukrainian children abducted by Russia. Gun control advocates say the federal government's buyback of assault-style firearms will be a waste of money unless it includes a prohibition of the semi-automatic SKS rifle. Details of the program are expected today. Since May of 2020, Ottawa has outlawed about 2,500 types of guns on the basis they belong on the battlefield and not in the hands of hunters or sport shooters. But the government has not outlawed the SKS, commonly used in Indigenous communities to hunt for food. The prominent gun control group, Police Souvien, says leaving the rifle in circulation would be a public safety failure. Federal and provincial privacy authorities will hold a news conference in Ottawa today to release the results of their joint investigation into TikTok. The watchdog's probe looked into whether TikTok complies with Canadian privacy legislation and whether valid and meaningful consent is being obtained for the collection, use, and disclosure of personal information. A farm near Edgewood, BC is making a last stand to stop federal officials from culling 400 ostriches. The farm has been given a warrant by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency requiring the farmers to leave or risk being removed from the property. Universal Ostrich Farms' Katie Pasitny says they were told they'd be allowed to stay in the bird's pen overnight.
Watching my mom today fall to her knees multiple times thinking she's going to lose everything has been probably one of the hardest days of my life, and mine too, because it's hard to understand how did we get here.
The farmers have repeatedly called for testing to determine the bird's status, saying they've shown no sign of avian flu since others were culled last year. And ABC will reinstate Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show tonight after suspending it since Wednesday over his comments about reaction to the death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the American League leading Toronto Blue Jays will open a 6-game homestand tonight. That will be the last of the regular season before they head to the playoffs. The Blue Jays are 2 games up on the rival New York Yankees in the AL East. Toronto will host 3 games against the Boston Red Sox starting tonight and then 3 against Tampa Bay. In the NFL's Monday night game, the Detroit Lions bullied their way to a 38-30 win over the Baltimore Ravens last night. The Lions sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times. The Montreal Canadiens opened their NHL preseason schedule at the Bell Centre with a 2-1 shootout victory last night over the Pittsburgh Penguins. And former Phoenix Suns superstar Steve Nash is joining the NBA franchise now as a senior advisor. The Victoria, BC native had some of his best seasons with the Suns, winning back-to-back MVPs in 2005 and 6. The 8-time All-Star was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2018. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.